Okay, so we're going to get started so we don't, we respect our panelists' time. Thank you all for being here. I want to introduce myself. I'm Antonella Galano. I work as the brand manager here at Austin Software. And I was telling the panelists before, I'm really excited for this webinar. We usually have tech talks, monthly tech talks that we host from Austin Software, where we have different speakers, technical speakers that talk about different frameworks, programming languages, open source, Web3, whatever topic is interesting. But this webinar is quite different. It's in commemoration of the International Women's Day that was on March 8th, last Tuesday. So I'm very excited. And I really want to thank all the panelists that joined, because this conversation is going to be so rich and profound. So I wanted to start by introducing them so you know who they are. So first, we have Jacqueline Samira, which is CEO and founder of Austin Software. Jacqueline has over 15 years of experience driving sales, building great teams, and increasing revenue across a variety of industries. She has a great passion for creating processes that promote efficiency, increase revenue, foster people happiness, and drive a human-first culture that puts well-being above all else. She previously headed up sales and operations teams for 3 different Y Combinator companies. And after making these companies lots of money and identifying many inefficiencies, she decided to start Austin Software and became a Y Combinator founder herself. Within 3 years, Austin Software is at 15 million annual recurring revenue, with projections to hit over 30 million annual recurring revenue next year. Welcome, Jacqueline, and what a job and a lot of effort you put into this company.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to talk amongst these amazing panelists. So thank you for having me, and really looking forward to this.
All right. Next, we have Familia Ivarguren, which is an engineering manager at Austin Software. Pamela has more than half a decade of experience working in the technology and services industry in several management positions, from projects to operations. She is an experienced professional in implementing business intelligence tools, data analysis, and strategic planning in organization, having more than 10 years of experience in those fields. She has a degree in economics with a postgraduate in change management in organizations from the Catholic University of Uruguay. And she also has a specialization in management in technology companies from the ORT University of Uruguay. Since her younger days, she has been participating in entrepreneurial training programs, and throughout her career, she has kept supporting these educational programs for teenagers as a tutor on several occasions. And this is why Pam is one of our greatest engineering managers. Welcome, Pam.
Thank you, Antonella, for that and for that introduction. I'm really happy to be here. And especially, I'm really happy to be here because I am mixing 2 of my words. Here is Pablo as well, that had been working with me in my voluntary activities in the past. And also here is Jacqueline from my current company. So I'm super excited to be in this panel.
Awesome, welcome. All right, I'm gonna move forward with María Laura Laita. She is a UX manager at Mercado Libre, Argentina. Lau has graduated from the University of Buenos Aires with a graphic design degree and has almost 20 years of experience working in the field of design. She has been focusing on UX and UI solutions, strategy, and products for the past 10 years. During the most recent part of her career, she has been leading UX teams and areas, providing the right environment for people to grow and develop their skills in order to create the best solutions to design problems. Having not only to deal with design solutions, but also with people and their everyday problems and needs has added up to her work, making it an even and bigger, more interesting challenge. Welcome, Laura. I'm very excited to have you here.
Thank you, and thank you all for having me here. I'm super excited, of course, to be here. I was really glad when you invited me to this. So I'm looking forward to see what comes out of this amazing talk that we're going to have. And yeah, nice to meet you, everyone. The ones that I can see and the ones that I can see.
Hey, thanks. All right, Pablo Marroche, Executive Director of Junior Achievement Uruguay. For 7 years, Pablo has been the Executive Director of BESEM Young Entrepreneurs Junior Achievement Uruguay Foundation, having held other roles as a participant in programs, volunteers, and staff for 20 years. He is an expert in the marketing direction of the Business University of Uruguay and has a degree on management development from the Business School of Montevideo University. He is currently a member of the executive committee of the Uruguay Entrepreneurial Network and of the advisory board of the civil society of the IDB. Sorry, I'm really trying to read this because I don't want to get anything wrong. Welcome, Pablo.
Hi, thank you, and thanks for the invitation. And one of the most amazing things we have always is have alumni, former participants of our program, as Pam is rocking the world and being a great example for the next generations.
Amazing. We have such a witness here. So in the testimony, great. And last but not least, excuse me, I want to introduce to you all Joanna Brieto. She is the co-founder of Geek Girls LatAm. Joanna has a master's degree in communications management in organizations from the Business School in Barcelona, Spain. She strongly believes that communication is the most important strategic resource of any organization, and the social media will be the topic of today and tomorrow. Although she has previously specialized in human management and organizational development at the Universidad de Rosario, Bogotá, Colombia, she proved that without solid people management, there is no success, that teamwork and collaboration and leadership are key to contributing to grow both personally and professionally. Nowadays, she continues to learn and prepare herself in the best in personal development, strategy, leadership, technology, innovation, and in several other areas. Welcome, Joanna.
Thank you very much, Antonella, and thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here, to learn from you, for everything that is going to be shared here. And so, of course, hello from Colombia. I'm now in Colombia, so hope that there's anyone there also watching this from Colombia.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. Pam is actually in our Colombia offices, so you guys are sharing locations.
Yeah, Joanna, I'm in Colombia, but I'm in Medellin. I'm flying to Bogota next week, so maybe we can meet there. You're not alone.
Yeah, sure. Let's have a coffee, Colombian coffee.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm gonna stop doing this formal introductions and leave it up to Jacqueline to take it over. I hope you all enjoy this talk, especially the attendees. We cannot see you, but that we can read you. So just make sure to drop your questions in the chat or in our Q&A panel, raise your hand or whatever is that you want to say. I'll be reading over the chat, but I'll be quiet because I wanna learn from all of them. So please, Jacqueline, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Antonella, thank you so much for the introductions and for putting this all together. Like everyone has said, we're really, really excited. So let's jump into it. We have three main topics that we want to cover today. And the first one that we want to discuss is women in leadership positions. So we all know, and I think it's pretty evident now, how important it is to facilitate having women on leadership teams because it creates a holistic perspective. It gives a whole picture to an organization, and it only increases productivity and overall success for an organization. So what I want to start this conversation off with is, what are the type of skills that people need to develop in order to get into these leadership positions? So let's just say we are somebody that we are striving, we are working hard, but we aren't necessarily developing the skill sets in our day-to-day life to be leaders. What is it that we need to do, or that people out there that want to be in leadership positions need to do in order to achieve this type of feat? I'm going to start this question off with Joanna, because of course, being the co-founder of Geek Girls, I'm sure you've had a lot of experience in bridging that gap.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Yeah, definitely having women in leadership positions has been one of the most challenging issues the last decade, I would say. And then I would like to start by saying that skills to lead, now for me, that I'm also this, I'm coming from this humanistic approach, let's say. Then I will give you 5 of my skills to lead here. And one of them will be to have a human-centric approach. definitely humanism, something that I call digital humanism nowadays, but this is just to be human, to remember who we are as humans. And it means to lead from heart. It means also to lead from resilience. It also means to lead from imperfection and even failure, and mostly caring for each other. So I would think that now leading nowadays implies not only to have a set of knowledge, a set of maybe goals or results to pursue, but also to have this sense of caring for each other in the organization. And mostly now that we have survived a pandemic, also to recognize leaders as humans is not only a thing of being this human-centric leadership approach, but also to recognize leaders as a human. So it means to be vulnerable, and vulnerability implies that everyone in the team or the company is vulnerable too. I think vulnerability is very important in this human-centric approach. We are not robots, we are humans. That's something that I really want to emphasize a lot. And also to have this emotional and spiritual intelligence, if you let me to have this word here in the discussion, spirituality. I don't know if that makes sense to you nowadays, but to me it has worked a lot. And the leaders I have talked to many times, they now say this word a lot, to be this spiritual. And what does spirituality means here in today's world? It means to have coherence in body, mind, and spirit. I think that if we humans and leaders and team members work in this emotional and spiritual intelligence, we can become more flexible, we can become more coherent, we can be more empathic with people. Third, to be authentic. Definitely, that's something that I really love to say, because I said that authenticity nowadays is the new sexy. So being authentic is a really revolutionary act. We are not copies of anyone else outside. We are unique. And if we understand why we are unique, why we are authentic, we can really lead from that and recognize others in that path. And the last two I consider very important. Communication, as Antonella said in my presentation, communication to me is very important. It is like the beginning of connections, the beginning of how you can move energy in people. If you really have the correct or the proper words to inspire people, to enable people, to energize people, you can take the organization to the next stage. And finally, purpose. Purpose is very important. Purpose is like the invisible leader that really connects people towards a result. So I would say that to me, and in my experience, these 5 issues is very important to have as a skill to lead today's world.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think that especially early on in my career, I was trying to embody a persona of like what I thought everybody wanted me to be. And then where I found more success was when I just started to become authentically myself. And people will always joke, like I'll get on these calls and I'll curse but I'm just me, and I can't change it. And I found people trust you more, people want to work with you more when you turn out to be more of yourself, because when people can see you as your authentic you, then essentially they're not trying to game theory. Is this person manipulating me, or is this person doing this, or is this, you get what you see. So I think that I love those 5 things. I'm going to turn this over to Pablo. As far as like gaining the skills, being somebody that's in an active role, what are some of the ways that people can gain the skills to show maybe their boss or their superiors that they're ready for that next leap into these leadership roles?
Hi, thanks for the question. I think considering women in leadership positions, it's always important to look at your current situation. For example, in our staff, we have 50% of women, 45% in our board of directors, and 60% in our participants, no? And we deliver educative programs, so it's very important to be an example for that students, and from every point of view, not only in contents, also in what you are showing. So considering the skills, I think we, as in Junior Achievement, we believe that learn by doing is very important. So to reduce that afraid of the chance of fail, no? So with our programs, we develop that self-efficacy, that belief, that self-confidence to make decisions and to be more proactive and to be entrepreneurs. So I think it's very important. And we also need to show more role models, no? Because I remember a few months ago, my team asked how I made decisions alone. And I said, I never made decisions alone. And that was my immediate reaction. But then I realized the importance of women in all my network, confidence, of trust, and the network I ask when I have to talk about something important. And I think that is very important for every person. I mean, not only in leadership, but I have, for example, Patricia in our president board, Andri, my chair at Vistas, of course, my couple, my wife, Tati, and also several conversations, meetings, coffee with friends and with different expertise and colleagues, for example, in the NGO sector or in different expertise, for example, in human resources. So my first recommendation is to find your network, and you will never be alone if you can create that kind of relationships to ask, to chat, to have that conversation when you are struggling, for example, no?
Yes, absolutely. I think the thing too, from speaking from personal experience, that was the thing that helped me the most, is I was just constantly communicating my desire to gain exposure and gain this experience, but I was speaking to people that were my managers or people that were leaders, and it's hard to do, but going back to Joanna's point of being vulnerable, I was vulnerable with them and I said, I want to gain these skills. I want to get ahead. Can you help me? And you'll find people that will say yes, but then not do anything. And then you'll find people that will say yes and do things. And it's the people that are there that are going to show up for you, that you want to keep in your network, and you want to gain as much closeness with them as possible, because while there will be a lot of people that says they want to help and say they want to help, but in reality, there's really only going to be a few people that will actually help. And those are the people that you want to get as close to as possible, because they are going to put in the work to give you the opportunities to move ahead. I want to turn this over to Pam. I know you had a couple things you wanted to add to what Joanna had said earlier.
Yeah, more than adding, it's just reinforcing Joanna's message. I think the human approach is just not voluntary anymore for companies. It's something mandatory in this day and age. I recall when I was really young and I was in high school that for me, an organization or a company was like a construction of services, products, and money, and that's it. And being exposed in my early days for people like you, Joanna, or you, Jacqueline, or you, Pablo, and learning there are people behind every company. There are people behind every services. There are people behind every penny a company does, and there are people problems on it, and you have to take care of them. I think was the most inspiring things. Not only thinking of if you are planning to make a career in leadership, but if you want to give an approach to companies to understand business in general terms. When I heard the question regarding what are the skills that you need for being a leader or that you have to consider, I think more than a skill, there is a premise related to what Joanna said, that is, results are going to be built by others. You are not going to be the one that is going to make the results alone. You're always going to need collaboration. So putting people in the center of the business is mandatory. It's the only way to achieve to perseverance and also to endure in time. And that is really important for companies to have into consideration. You're muted, Jacqueline.
Oh my gosh, what a noob move. Laura, would you like to?
Yeah, sure. I really agree with everything that everyone has said so far. What I want to add is I think this is something we're all seeing in the past few years. You know, before being a leader meant, you know, you had to be like this authority figure, like this kind of father weird figure that had to tell you what to do and how to do it. And it was also, especially in many companies, this was like a career move. You know, you start learning and you end up being a leader because, you know, that's that. And you should, it kind of flows to that way. And actually being a leader is so much more than that. You have to, like the girls and Pablo also said, you need to care about people. It's not a career move. It's, you're no longer, you're leading things, but you're not the most important persona there. You're somebody that's going to help things happen by helping people do things and by caring. And by, you actually need to build trust with your teams. And that's also adding to what Jacqueline said. When you are yourself and when you show who you truly are, whether you're cursing, making jokes like sometimes I do, or maybe all the time I do, maybe, yeah, I don't know. But you show that you're a person, that you're approachable, that people can trust you. We're no longer robots, but at one point in the history of humanity, we learned that, you know, you had to go to work. There was a professional sphere there, and you were like a robot there, you know, 9 to 5, you do your work, and then you're out the door, and you're somebody else. You're like funny, awesome, driven, whatever, and then you went to work, you were serious again. And I think those boundaries no longer apply. Like you need to be able to show who you are, because you're there like 8 hours a day, or well, there, it's a weird word, you know, you're at home 8 hours a day, maybe, or at an office, if you're lucky, if you have an office to go to, but, and you need to be able to cross those boundaries. You need to be able to make it personal. It's not just professional. When you deal with people, you have to make it personal, because if not, you're forgetting that part of the people that's most important, that, you know, learn if the team you're working with has a bad day, if they're happy, if they're not happy, if they're scared, if you want to tell you something. Without trust, you cannot build anything. And in the end, you get to the results, you get to the money, the objectives, you know, KPIs, everything you're working for, because, okay, let's face it, we're here to make money, we're here to do things, and we have like a very long Trello board with things that we need to do. So yeah, that's going to happen. The only way that's happening if you start trusting your people and people trust you. And you know, you kind of, being a leader means building other leaders and building people that can actually do the work. And just, you know, you have to remove the obstacles and be approachable, be there for them. So yeah, just to tie into everything that everyone said here.
Totally. And question for you. So what if I am somebody that currently separates who I am at home and who I am at work, but I want to gain the skills to be able to be more of myself at work? What are some of the things I could do to open up and start to show that bit of myself if traditionally I've been at a company and I've had a different persona?
You can start by first acknowledging who you are to yourself. I think that's the main thing. Once you know that, and you also need to be able, or you need to want to do that. It's also okay if you want to leave your, you know, if I want to have a work Laura and a, you know, party Laura, and that's, you know, that's happening outside, you can do that. You don't have to, you know, go to work and tell everyone your life, your every single little secret. You know, I do that. No, it's not advisable all the time, but if you want to, you can start with little things. Like you can say, you know, how was your day? You can, when people ask you how was your day, you can say, you know, I just took the kids to school. So they might ask you, you know, how many kids do you have? And you start with little things, like the small, tiny things that make up your life. And when you see that others care about that and that they make something important and it makes a good impression on others, then you will get other questions. And this is going to start to flow. You cannot expect to be like this new persona all over again. It takes time. And the trust you build also takes time. And once it's there, you start feeling like, I mean, when you don't trust the environment you're in, it's probably, you're going to be somebody different because you don't trust the the comments you make. You don't trust that people are going to accept you for who you are. And that's especially in some environments with some kinds of people, when you're not accepted because you are this way or that way, or that people might look you the wrong way if you say that you like whatever or you do other things. So it's kind of starting to trust and to feel comfortable in your environment. And that is, again, with small items of trust that you give them to the people so people can be themselves, and you also allow yourself to be yourself. But again, it takes time. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but you can do it baby steps all the time.
Yeah, that's really, really great feedback, because then you iterate on that. You do a little bit of a baby step, you see how people receive you, and then you can give a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Or if you find that it's not working, then pull back a little bit, just whatever is your comfort level. Something too I want to share for everybody that's on the call. If you have any questions that come up, or you want to dive deeper into any of these answers or any of these questions, please feel free to send us a chat. You can send it directly to the host and the panelists, or you can send it to everyone. We are happy to include your questions as well. So I'm going to move on to our next subject, which is all about work-life balance. I know that this has been a hot topic for a while, and I want to ask our panelists, how do we make work-life balance a priority in our lives? What are some of the things that you can do, especially if I am someone that's in the audience and I want to move into this leadership position? I know I have to work extremely hard. I probably have to do my job and then this other job. Like Pablo was saying, you have to show that you can do the role before you get the role. So now I'm working extra hard, but how do I make this work-life balance a priority? So I'm going to start this off with Pamela. For you, someone being in a leadership position and potentially taking on more leadership roles, how do you keep that balance and how do you make it a priority?
Well, something that Joanna said at the beginning, I think is really important here, the human approach. Again, to being a leader is not only going to be delivering and be able to be there every day. You have to consciously be there every day, and you have to have clarity of mind to resolve situations, to help others. And for helping others, first you have to help yourself. First you have to be healthy. You have to understand the priorities. And also lead by the example. Because for an instance, imagine if I have a boss, or if that I have had in the past, that stay overnight and work all the weekends and do not care about their family, that is going to be the role model that I'm going to be taking, or is going to be what I am going to think is expected from me. So but work balance is not just for the leaders per se, but also for the ones that are working with him as well. You have to lead with example. You have to be conscious that all your activities are going to be taken into consideration. And it's important that you are healthy, for giving the good and the correct answer, for helping each other, for having clarity of mind, but also for setting the examples to say, hey, it's okay if you don't want to do extra hours. It's not normal to do that. It's okay if you want to be with your family. If you okay, it's okay. Something that I have really loved about the pandemic is that we have been getting to know each other more. We have seen kids, dogs, spouses, brothers, family, and that's really nice, because after all, we are human, and this is a human approach, as Joanna said early, and that make us better, because that kind of thing has, for me at least personally, have made my relations to grow more and to go deep. And in that regard, I have unlocked a lot of things that help me to help others to grow even more, because we are in a confident environment, and that is really, really important.
I couldn't agree with you more. I have to say that Austin Software is the very first company that I've ever worked at that makes and treats work-life balance as a priority. Shameless self-plug, of course, but I think it was because I worked, I mean, American culture in general is all about hustle. Like, you are rewarded for working 15-hour days, working on the weekends, stressing yourself out. Like, it's almost like a badge of honor to come into work and be like, oh, I didn't sleep last night because I was up all night doing blah, 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 or blah, blah, blah. But then you work in this environment and it's so toxic, and the people you're surrounded with are in such a bad mood, and everybody's grumpy, and it's not fun. But that's the grind. That's the way that it was. And I'm like, man, there's got to be a better way. Like, this is this is icky. This feels icky. I'm tired. I'm exhausted all the time. I have no time for my own life. I mean, I did that for close to 15 years. And what I realized is that the better we are to ourselves on our downtime, the better we are for everyone else when we're actually showing up to work. So if we can invest in ourselves on our off time, we're actually giving better versions of ourselves to everybody else when we're actually on and working. So it's definitely something that I'm so great. I mean, the pandemic, of course, has been horrible, but Pamela, like you said, it's really forced so many people to look at their lives and say, what is important? What is a priority? We do have families. We do have dogs. We do have these activities outside of work. And I think there's always blessings in pain. And that was definitely a blessing, because I do feel like having this work-life balance is becoming a priority across many companies. I'm going to turn this over to Joanna. You want to add to that? Because I know you had a lot about body, mind, and spirit in leadership, and how does this work and relate to work-life balance?
Yeah, definitely. It is one of the tendencies today when we refer, for example, how to implement this human-centric approach. It's something that I also say from employer branding. I don't know if you have heard about that. No, I mean, people are now like choosing who to work with and not the opposite. So you as company help me to grow personally, professionally, but understanding that I'm a human, and also, I mean, a daughter, I don't know, wife, and we humans have a lot of roles to fulfill in society, you know. So how companies is helping us to have this happy human on earth, no, with purpose. That's why I said my 5 element at the beginning is purpose, because I do believe that every human has this sense of contribution, and this part of this sense of contribution must be helped by the company, no, because the company is in the society, it's not something outside of it. And understanding that every collaborator, every team member is part of society means that we have a lot of things to do to contribute. So what if I'm a volunteer in any nonprofit organization, for example? So I do need time for that. It also helps for my happiness. So it is very important to move from the discourse, let's say, to actions, and that's only through policies, through better practices that really shows and implement strategies that make people happy, that make people more prosperous in their lives. So how company can really implement and help others to be happy humans. I'd say is that you have a happy human first, and I say human as people. You will have a happy collaborator. You will have a happy team worker. It's like when you, for example, I don't know, wake up in the beginning, you open these virtual rooms in which we are now living in this metaverse, and you say good morning to everyone, and you say good morning to everyone with this happy face, and that you will is contagious. No, I mean, if you show this happy face, people will feel like, okay, the energy is different. But if you just nothing is going good with you, so that will be the mood of the rest of the team for the rest of the day. No, it doesn't mean that you have to wake up every morning just with this happy face. We have bad days too. And that's part of being human. That's part of this human-centric approach. I mean, we do have bad days, and in bad days, we don't want to be in the world, like something like that. You know? I mean, I don't want to, turn on the camera, please. I don't want to turn on the camera. I don't want to talk today about these things. I mean, recognize that we are humans. That's what I think maybe can help us. And that's why happiness today is a issue in companies, because we really need happy humans on earth. That's for me, like, you as leader think, how can you make people happy? And then you will have results.
I'd love to hear that also. And it's something that happened to me. So I'm just taking a me point and seeing if anybody here agrees or not. But the second time I became a mom, I started leaving the office earlier. I didn't check with anybody. I just decided, my kid needs me at this point, so I'm going to leave. And those decisions are kind of difficult because usually you tend to ask somebody, is okay, boss, is this okay? Are we doing this right? And one thing that Jacqueline asked at first is, how do you manage this, work-life balance? And sometimes you need to make it your priority to show others that, this is what I care the most. I can still do work, I will do work, but right now I have to do this. I have to take care of this, whether it's your child, whether it's your hobbies, whether it's your mental health, whether it's your physical health. You need to make it a priority first, and then show others, show your boss, your team, anyone, like, we were saying before, lead by example, show others that you can be trusted. You can say your work. And I realized when I started leaving earlier from the office, because again, let's remember, this is not pandemic time where, you were at home and you could do multiple things. Like I breastfed when I was at home and in calls, nobody knew. I knew, and it was important to me. But when I had to go to the office and I had to leave, it was kind of obvious, you're here, then you're not. But it set an example for the team. And it also meant, you can still trust me. I can do work. I might do work later. I might take a call from the subway. I did that. I don't recommend it, but I did that. Those are things that I usually do. And again, people started to see that I could be trusted, that I could take these times for myself, for my family, for my health, and it was okay to do that. And that created the work-life balance. Sometimes you don't need a specific policy in your company that says that. You just need to have the example of people that are doing that. And then you go and say, she's taking time to do this. And then she comes to work. And like, it works. We're doing stuff. We're not falling behind with dates. We're not falling behind with, things that we need to do, but it actually works. And to me personally, I was super happy to do that. Like, I loved going to work there. Like, this for my former employers and friends there. Like, I was super happy because I felt they trusted me. Like, nobody was babysitting me. Nobody was telling me, it's late. You should be here. Why aren't you here? You're not my parents. You're my boss, and you need to be trusting me. And again, it all ties up to what we said before. Being a leader is also trusting. If you trust yourself, you trust your team, good things happen. And like, we were saying before, and Pam was saying, we're all humans. We're humans. We should be also happy humans, like we said before. And that's the most important thing. But you need to make yourself happy first. I know I sound like some kind of, weird person trying to sell you stuff. I'm not trying to sell you anything, guys and girls, of course. But once you're doing that, and once you're in that mindset, you can do other things. And then again, people respect you. And if at some point you feel like your work environment, your bosses, your colleagues don't understand that, then it might be a red flag, and it might be time for you guys and girls to change your jobs. Because again, that's a possibility. I'm not saying everybody quit your jobs, but if you feel like you're being, undervalued where you are, that you cannot have this work-life balance, that if you're leaving before 6 o'clock in the afternoon, you're doing something bad. If you're not being rewarded for staying 10 hours on a job, you shouldn't be rewarded because of that. Like, if that doesn't happen, then again, it might be time to move on. And it's not bad. It's good because you're taking care of yourself first, and then you can take care of others.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned you were the example. You were the first one that did it, because you need to, especially if we start going back into the environment where we're working in the same office and we have these visual examples of what people are doing, that probably gave the courage to so many other people to say, I can do this too. And then what ended up happening is it wasn't a big deal, and now all of a sudden people are going to be happier employees, because being happy is super duper important. Your mood impacts everybody around you, just as Joanna brought up. It's completely true. So you have to ask yourself these questions and really, really focus on what is important. What makes me happy? Does exercising make me happy? Does sleeping 8 hours make me happy? Do my kids make me happy? I mean, I hope they do. But like, do these things make me happy? And how do I make sure that I keep that as a priority in my life? Maybe I block off an hour every day to go for a walk, or maybe what are the things I can assure you that time spent doing those things that make you happy are only going to reinvest more on the time not spent doing that. So I do want to ask, we got a great question, and I want to ask Pamela, I want to ask you this question. The question is, usually women, you are used to be more open with our emotions. And so it might be easier for us to say, hey, we're burnt out, or we're this. A lot of the reasons too is because we start to feel it probably a little bit faster. So the question is, for men, sometimes it can be more difficult to share when they are burning out at work. And so how can you as a woman approach male engineers to be more open and be more balanced in life, especially when all interactions are currently online?
Well, I want to demystify that premise, because it's really tough for both sizes, for both parties. I mean, if you're a woman in a company, your first afraid is going to be, oh, if I say I'm burnout, or if I say I can't do this, sometimes it's going to say, because you're a woman, or something like that. So your first fear when you start working, or when I started working in the past, was kind of that. So it was difficult for us as well. I think for men and for women, the important here is to make the first steps. You were talking early, Laura, regarding that. And I was thinking, there has been always in the history a pioneer that make the first step. And that person is not pointed out by God and having these amazing qualities and be really communicative and really, really better in every field. I mean, it's a human person like all of that we are here, and also all the participants that we are here. But had a bit courage to take the first step, to take the voice about something, to talk about something. And for that person that asked that question, my comment would be, don't be afraid to take the first step. And based on that, we all have made mistakes, and we all have do things that are not okay, and we all have made comments that are not okay, and nothing happens sometimes. So don't be afraid if you have an emotion, if you are burned out of job or whatever. Do not go for a woman to talk about that. Talk to your boss, talk to whatever, talk to your teammates about that. But take the first step and see what happens. And probably what is going to happen is that nobody is going to be surprised by it. You are going to find a person on the other side that's going to be empathetic with you. And if Laura says, if that doesn't happen, I think it's a moment that you are going to think, hey, I am in the correct place. I am in the place that I want to be. But my suggestion would be that do not be afraid. Talk it normally. It happens to everybody. Everybody is afraid. It's not because you're a woman, you're a man, you're Uruguayan, Argentinian, Colombian, or whatever. I mean, cultures are different. The diversity is everywhere. But take the first step and see what happens.
Absolutely. I mean, gosh, and I gotta say too, Pamela, at least in my experience, I think people would just I mean, as a manager, if someone came to me and said, I'm tired, I would be thrilled to hear this, because that just means that they trust me enough to share this part about them, to share this little bit of vulnerability, because I do know how hard that is. So taking the first step, if it scares you, do something small. Just say, I'm pretty tired, or say something small to get a reaction. If you're not getting the reaction that you want, then, have a bit of courage. What's the worst thing that they're going to happen? What if they're an asshole? Maybe they're an asshole. See me, it's me cursing again. Like Laura said, maybe this isn't the right opportunity for you. Maybe it's not the right boss. Maybe it's not the right place. So have the courage to take the first step. Love that. Moving on, Pablo, would you like to add to this subject in general, or the recent question that was brought up?
Thank you. Just to comment, I think we also should remember that even working from home or having more flexibility, women have over their shoulders the family care and the taking care of the kids and everything. So I think this is a very important point, because we are not in an equal world yet, and the working with kids at home, for example, is not easy also. So I think we need to consider that in order to be leaders of working moms, for example. And we should also consider all special situations. So I think this is a role to be leaders that is very important in this particular moment. And I hope it will be also for the future too. And from our side of employees, of team members, and we also should stay focused on the results and the importance of keep our working done. And we have to share with our partners the time and space and accomplish results, because that will be make possible to remain that flexibility we're having now. So I think these are some issues to consider and to stay focused on make it possible.
Yes, I mean, for 50 years, women have been afraid to have to go home and take care of the kids because they don't want to get demoted, they don't want to get fired, they don't want to get looked over for a promotion because they have to bear the burden of the family responsibility, or traditionally have bear the burden. So Pam, to your point earlier, and Pablo, to your point now, like, even though it's easier for us to be emotionally vulnerable, it's harder for us to want to share these things because we don't want to get stigmatized for it. So that's a very, very good point. And Pablo, I'm going to keep you as the subject here, because it's a perfect segue into our next topic, which is, how does a company contribute to gender equality? So what can companies do to make their team, their leadership team, more inclusive and more diverse? Pablo, I'm going to stay with you for that one.
I think the best contribution as company is with your team during the recruitment process, but also daily in every decision, and considering all your communications, every action. For example, when you develop an event as this, I'm thankful today for being invited to participate in the conversation, but I usually see events with panelists or meetings when all in the picture are men. And for example, this is now a reputation issue also, because social media will not forget that mistake, but it's also something that should change for the very important reason behind, not only the social media impact, but of course, from my point of view and my daily work as a foundation that promotes educative programs, of course, company, after solve that issues inside, that they should also contribute to empower women and reduce the gap, contributing to educative programs. For example, we have one program that is Shop Shadows Day, a shadowing, matching students with professionals to develop those role models and inspiration. Last year, we developed all other program, Generando Futuro, to promote gender should not be which defines your vocation or your future job. No, there are not jobs for women and jobs for men. And this is also an issue in tech, that there are girls in techs, and a lot of organizations are working on that. But we are trying to contribute to that also. We also delivered and implemented other program, Digi Girls, to promote participation of women in STEM careers. And we are, of course, open to make more. Next week, we are launching other programs with Mercado Libre, and we are talking with María before starting. So there are a lot of initiatives that we can do, from the education and connecting students with companies, with future, and show the right path. I think that's very, very important. And I believe education is a very powerful tool to inspire the next generations, and considering that they will be the leaders of tomorrow, no?
Absolutely. education is the gateway to everything. And, you know, having examples and role models, you have to see it to believe you can do it too. So I think it's tremendous what you guys are doing, Pablo. Thank you so much. So it's just wonderful. Laura, how would you add to this? How do you think companies can contribute to be more inclusive and diverse? Or what are some things that you have seen in your experience that companies have done to do this?
It's a good question. I've seen good things and bad things. I'll
Oh,
start with the bad.
share it
So
all.
I'll start with the bad. So we move forward into the good. It's good. It's nicer. But the bad is, you know, right now it's super nice and it's super cool to show that, you know, we're doing things. You know, we post things on LinkedIn, we post things here or there on Instagram. You know, we're all super hip and cool people that like to have diversity in our teams. And then you see the picture of the team and it's just guys. You know, white guys, Caucasian, you know, the people just, they all look the same. So I think the most important thing is that you actually need to be willing to do it. It doesn't have to look good on social media. It has to be something that you as a company believe in. And when you look at your team and you see, you can see right now, if you have a 10 person team, is it diverse? Do I make room for that? Do I make room for different opinions? Do I make room for people being different in all the ways? It's not just about gender, it's about everything, you know, size, color, ways of thinking, everything. But I think, and I go back to the part where leadership started, you know, as a leader, you need to be able to work with different people and take into consideration different ideas and different ways of thinking. And this open-mindedness that you need to have to be a leader also ties out to that. Because once you start looking for people on your team, you're going to be saying, you know, I want different opinions, I want different voices, and I want the same voice repeated over and over again. I don't want like mini Laos and mini clones of myself, you know, working with me. It would be weird, might be nice, I'm not sure, but you know, teeny tiny Laura's might be a bit frightening, I think. I'm thinking about that, and okay, it's a bit cringy, but it's something that you need to believe in, actually. And like Pablo was saying, it all starts out with education, because if you don't see like people doing that, if you don't see women and mothers and different kinds of people doing leadership work, you won't think it's possible. You will think, as I have thought in the past, you know, mothers cannot be CEOs. There's no way they can do it, because you know they need to stay at home, they need to do this, they need to do that. If you're having a different gender, different ideas, different ways of working, you won't be able to do it, because you have the picture of a CEO is like this is the picture of a CEO. It's not me. I'm not doing that. I won't be able to do that. So again, leading by example, because we can do things. But again, you as a leader should also be thinking, when I hire somebody, why am I hiring this person? Is it because this person is truly best for the role? Am I just looking at the same resume over and over again? Like, are all these pictures and kinds of people are all the same? Am I looking at different backgrounds, different ideas, different upbringings? What am I looking into when I try to hire somebody? And am I giving the right opportunities to people? Am I giving opportunities to people with less information, with less culture, with more culture? With what am I doing here, and what do I want to accomplish? And once you have that picture of, you know, how do you want your team to be? I want my team to be of all colors and sizes and everything. I want a super duper team because I really want ideas to flow from there. Again, if all the ideas are my ideas, might be a little bit boring, and I don't want that. And nothing new and nothing exciting is going to come out of that. So again, it's something we all need to do. And one small thing that I like to add is, if we keep expecting, you know, companies to do that, if we keep expecting that to come, you know, from the top down, it's not going to happen. We start to make it happen. Like Pam said, we're not chosen ones. We're just, I don't know, but we're not chosen ones. We're just people trying to do our work. And if you don't feel like you're doing it okay, if you don't feel comfortable, don't do it, change it. The worst thing that can happen is you're going to find something different, something new that's going to make you happier. But if you don't try, you'll never know. So that.
Absolutely. I always say when I'm hiring people too, like, I don't want to hire the exact same people. We're all different spices in a soup. If you just put a bunch of salt in a soup, it's going to be too salty. If you just put a bunch of pepper, it's going to be too peppery. We need to have all of the different components to make it flavorful. I mean, it's a stupid analogy, but it's the way that I think about diversity in a lot of ways. Pam, I know you wanted to add.
Yeah, fostering the message that Laura gave at the end, I am a convinced person that change is not going to be only from the top to down. And that is not going to be honest, it's not going to perdure in time. I think we always talk about what companies can do for gender equality, but I always try to think also, what can I do as a contributor, as a member of that company, even though I am not in a leadership position, even though I am the one that is cleaning, the one that is coding, the one that is, I don't know, doing the salary reviews or whatever. What can I do for gender equality? And we don't have to be in leadership positions to influence others, because we all have influence between each other. So if you're a woman, if you're a man in an organization, do not wait for your company to go and say, hey, let's talk about gender equality. You have to talk about gender equality. Everyone has to talk about gender equality, and everybody have to give the opportunities to everyone and talk about the problems and talk about whatever is happening, because I think this is not a problem of only women and companies. It's a problem of all the society, and the society has to change. And the people that make that company, the people that work in that company in all levels have to change in order for this to not be an issue in 2 years, 5 years, and that we don't have to have this kind of talk to talk about this. We have to talk about other things in the future. But do not wait for others to do what you can also do in small pieces. Even the smallest actions in the day-to-day work, talking to a person that works with you, you influence somebody in your team with a small action, is going to have tremendous repercussions. Because if we wait for companies, if we wait for leaders to be the only ones that are going to implement this change, I think we are lost. The magic here comes when we all take part of these initiatives.
Absolutely.
In my opinion, sorry.
No, that's totally. It has to be top down, bottom up, middle out. It has to come from everyone. And it has to be a priority from everyone. The other thing is hiring managers have a lot of influence, and hiring managers are not like, they could be at every different level of the organization. And if they don't have that perspective that Laura said, where it's like, I don't want to hire a lot of mini me's, because a lot of times, at least in over the last 15 years, what I've noticed is people do that. They want to hire clones of themselves. And so what ends up happening is they have a team of people that look and act exactly like themselves. And so something that we do at Austin Software, not that we have like a hiring quota, but we have a board and we say, hey, this is how many leaders on our team are female. This is the percentage. This is how many people on our team in general are female. And it's just because we have to have you cannot expect what you do not inspect. And so if we're just constantly zooming out and seeing, hey, do we have a good balance here? That's something that helps us keep it top of mind. But I would say the people that have the biggest influences are the hiring managers. And so do the hiring managers at your organization know that they shouldn't hire their own little clones, because that's not necessarily conducive to a positive work? I don't know. That's where a lot of people make mistakes. So top down will want to have diversity, top down will want to have inclusion, everybody will want to have it, but the people with the power are the ones that essentially could influence this in an organization. Joanna, I want to bring the subject to you about creating diversity and inclusion. How do you do it with your organization, or maybe some good and bad ways you've seen other companies do it?
Yeah, sure. First of all, plus 111. I agree with all of you. You have said it's a very important and awesome. I would like you to reflect on that. A culture in general, an organizational culture, is made up of behaviors. Yeah. And behaviors are the results of thoughts, mind. Yeah. And mind is made up of emotions. So if we go back all this route, let's say, then to start implementing this inclusive and gender equality approach and all that, we have to go back to the roots. Yeah, we have to be aware of unconscious bias we have. Everyone in the organization has. Yeah, because if we don't, become aware or conscious of what of those unconscious behaviors, yeah. Everything that we start implementing, actions and all that, maybe they work the first time, they can work the next one, but in the time again, they come back to be unconscious. Yeah. So we have also to start maybe working towards affirmative actions. Once we work in mindset, once everyone in the organization recognizes that he, she has this unconscious bias that is maybe show in a behavior or in the language, no, or in simply body language, yeah. Then we can start like, okay, changing the thing, changing behaviors, and start changing then culture. So let's go back, and then we start working on this, affirmative actions to go back then to culture that enables everybody to be as he wants to be, yeah? To be this authentic person with this human he or she wants to be in life, yeah? So how can I make you happier? Okay, let's go back to this. Let's go back to emotions. Let's go back to behaviors. Let's go back to these unconscious things or mindsets we have. And of course, in Geekers, then you have Geekers as an organization that helps you to work on this, to not only to allocate talent, but also to help you work on this. Also to help you understand that you have to start working today in the present, educating the talent you will have in the future. Yeah, something that happens to me in then when I soon started this movement, it was 10 years ago. When I sit in a room with presidents of organizations and all that, and I say, you will have a lack of talent in digital talent and tech talent in the future, and that I would like you to have more women in that purpose, they just, they just laugh at me like, what are you saying that this is a very feminist approach, what you're saying. Okay, I'm so lucky this pandemic thing happened, because now companies around the world are lacking talent, are lacking tech talent, and they are now wanted to have more women in their teams. But it's not because they are women, it's because we women, we have this a special talent to contribute the company, to contribute results, to build technology with this sense of people, progress, development, social vision, which is very important nowadays when we create technology, because it's not simply creating technology, it's technology that really helps people to have a better quality of life, no? So then first thing, affirmative actions, and then to have affirmative actions that last in the time, you have to go back to the root. Then you have to start working on mindset. You have to start working what emotions are really leading people to behave in certain ways. Yeah. Because everyone has this unconscious bias. Everyone, women, men, parents, leaders, team workers, everyone. Yeah. So let's fight, let's say, that first, and then every action you develop later will have a last, let's say, it's a long-lasting effort at the end, no? I would say that, Jacqueline.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I cannot agree with you more. When I was starting Austin Software, some of my closest friends who have been my biggest cheerleaders throughout my entire life had this unconscious bias with me. And they said, well, how are you going to do it once you become a mom? You're getting married. You're going to want to have kids. What are you going to do? How are you going to run this organization? Like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure I had so many close people to me say, are you sure you want to do this? Rather than being, the number one fan that's like, yeah, get out there, kick ass, you can do this. Like, they don't say that to men. They don't say, oh, but you're going to get married and have kids. Like, are you sure you want to start that company? They say, yes, this is the perfect time to do it. Your kids are young. You have the opportunity. So everybody on this call, men, female, you name it, have these unconscious bias. You could be holding people back by thinking that you're helping. And in reality, we have to really rethink and reshape that. Because, I now have 2 kids. I built the company and built 2 babies at the same time. You can do it. A question for Laura that was asked, and we actually have a bunch of questions that came in that I definitely want to make sure we get to. But one of the questions was, how can we communicate that diversity externally without showing or sharing something isn't real when we're trying to recruit new members? For instance, women can feel a bit intimidated to apply for a job in the IT industry. How can we close this gap and encourage these girls?
Love the question. It's a really tough one because at least here in Argentina, we don't have as many girls in IT as we would like to have. So usually when you have you open this vacant for an IT position, usually men come up. So I think that the things that I would say I would like to do, or the things that I usually do, I go into the UX part, I also do this. It's first start with how you write the ad. How do you post this in social media, whatever? Language is important. Language shape is the way we think and we see the world. So if you go like in Spanish, it has more of a difference because you have like, I want a guy, IT person, and we have this genre in our words. So first, reshape how you write it. Don't ask for a guy to do this, ask for people that can do this. So this is a difference there. Don't ask for specific gender qualities, just, ask for the things that you want in the job. What do you want people to do? You can also do it is, let's say you're posting something on LinkedIn, have a woman post it, have a girl post it. Like if you are saying, I want people to join my company or my team, and I'm a girl or a woman, then you kind of, again, you're shaping the way things are happening, and you're shaping the image of the people you want to hire. And the people are going to see that are like, okay, she's a woman and she's looking for people, so I might apply. If you have a guy going, come to my company, then probably more guys or more people like that person are going to join. So I think that's the first thing. And again, it's not going to happen overnight. Like we all said before, it all comes down to education. So you need to educate, and you need to be able to have more women, girls, trans people join the lines of IT. So you'll be able in 10 years to have more people to choose from. But again, it's how you shape the message that also matters. And also you can probably show pictures of your team. And if you show your IT team being, half and half, then you see something different. If you just show guys, you see one thing. If you're just girls, you see another thing. So again, how you communicate is super important, and you're saying things and you're being biased by how you communicate. And also you can, if it doesn't work, you can always go like, I want a girl to do this. I want a specific gender of person. I want a woman to do this. That might not be the nicest approach, but it also works because sometimes you can go, I've had this quota here, so I want girls to join my company. I want women to do this job. I want women developers. I know you can do it. I wouldn't advise that because I think that we're doing this the other way around. I don't think it actually works. But again, how you shape it, how you rephrase it, how you see yourself asking for this or wanting people for this job might actually make it. And again, if you're too afraid to apply for that role, might not be the first company for you. I'm going to, found my own company because again, if you're feeling bad, if you're looking at the, that ad and going, I don't know if I'm gonna work here, I just something doesn't feel right, then don't. And I know we all need to work, we pay bills, food doesn't grow from the trees. Well, it actually does, but it's not for free. So again, we need to work, but you don't need to work anywhere. It's your time, it's your life, it's important. So make it count. Choose somewhere that makes you happy. And if it doesn't feel right, maybe because it isn't.
Yeah. Words are so powerful. I was doing consulting before I started this company, and I had a company ask me, we want to hire more female salespeople. We have found that our customers respond better to female salespeople. We want to hire more female salespeople, but we are only getting men to apply. Jacqueline, how do we get more females? And I was like, well, let me look at the job description. And of course, the job description was very aggressive, very assertive, very competitive. Like, a lot of the words and the language they were using to describe the job was very welcoming for a male salesperson, and it wasn't necessarily welcoming for a female salesperson. Female salesperson wants harmony, wants community, wants collaboration, wants teamwork. Male salespeople are more individualistic or competitive, wants that carrot. And so in a way, all we did to change the number of applicants that were going to this organization was just change the words of the job description to make it more inclusive for female salespeople to feel like they're wanted in that organization. So words are so powerful. I love that answer. There's one other question that I want to get to. This one's for me. It says, Jacqueline, as the founder of a tech company, how do you think you're inspiring girls to pursue a career in STEM? Well, the thing that I just want to demystify it. I think there is so much mystery from the outside when you're looking in, and you see, again, you need examples to feel comfortable to join something. And if I could do one thing, the one thing is just to be that example, to say, hey, if she can do it, I can do it too. I didn't get my degree in computer science. I wasn't an engineer. It is something I've always been fascinated about and something I've always been passionate about. And I never let people saying you can't do this hold me back, because if I can just be the example and demystify that it is something you can do, I hope then it at least enables and empowers people to want to pursue a career in something that seems exciting, but also a little bit scary. And I think this is basically wrapping us up. That was the last question I saw, unless, Antonella, did I miss any? And of course, from all of our wonderful panelists, is there anything else that you guys would like to contribute or add or ask? Please let me know now. I know we've got a few minutes left.
Just to mention that also women are better prepared that men in general. For example, in Uruguay, they graduate more from the university than men, for example. But when you have some measurements or research about entrepreneurial activity, for example, they have less confidence to try to be entrepreneurs, for example. So we have an opportunity there to strengthen that trust, empowering women as we are doing here and several activities. But I think this is a very important issue to keep working on that.
Yeah, totally agree with Pablo. As Jacqueline says, I am not an engineer, I am an economist, but I am working in this sector. I'm working close in my one-to-ones with the engineers. And it took me a while to be here, but the thing that I appreciate the most is having the example. Having the opportunity in my early ages and having the opportunity now to see people, to see women and men as the one I am seeing in this panel right now, and inspire me that this is possible. I mean, yes, it's going to be tough. Don't get me wrong. Getting to any position is always tough. Getting into a new industry or to an industry, whatever, it is going to be tough, but it's doable. I mean, it can be done. We are humans here in this meeting. We are not sciences or do quantum physics. We have the capability. I think always is resumed to take the first step and see what happens. And do not be afraid to do that, because a lot of beautiful things can happen after that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Well, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of our panelists that have joined us for the last hour and 20 minutes. I have learned a lot from each of you, and I hope everyone in the audience had at least one takeaway from today's conversation. If this is something that you would like to see more of or do more of, or if there's other questions, please reach out to us. We would love to be able to host more of these talks. I know that it is International Women's Week this week, and it was a great excuse to be able to put something like this together. But obviously, it is something that we are all very passionate about. Again, Pablo, Joanna, Pamela, Laura, thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy days and very busy schedules to have this conversation with us. And Antonella, of course, thank you so much for putting this all together and creating such a wonderful group of panelists to talk to.
Sure, thank you all. Just a quick reminder, you will be getting a follow-up email from Zoom directly, and that email will include a link that will take you to a feedback survey. So if there's anything that you want to comment or you want to tell us or make suggestions, just make sure to leave it in the feedback survey, or just reach out to us like Jacqueline said. I hope you guys all enjoy it. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you to our audience. And I will see you hopefully in our future tech talks and Austin software events, or in life, maybe having a coffee with Joanna in Colombia, or with Jacqueline in the USA, or with Pablo in Uruguay. Thank you all so much.